Just because you're wearing sneakers doesn't mean you can't wear durable, well-made shoes. And I got you covered here with options under 150 bucks, and 200 bucks, and 300 bucks, and if it's 800 bucks. I've been making videos about the best quality leather footwear for over 6 years. I even visited a luxury sneaker factory in England to prepare for this video on leather sneakers. A worthwhile shoe to own, given that real leather, good leather upper, will last longer than canvas or synthetics or bad leather that you get on cheaper leather sneakers. So that investment for good leather sneakers will pay off. Now, a common mistake with these sort of like best lists. Best does not mean most expensive. Value and accessibility also need to be considered when you're saying what is like the best. Like I have a pair of $800 sneakers here, and while they're extremely well made, and it's a justifiable price for what they are, it's an unrealistic recommendation for the average guy who isn't going to care about the extra touches that got them to that price point. You get a point of diminishing returns. If the average guy, which is who I'm making this video for, asked me what the best leather sneaker is, would I recommend this to him? No, that's silly. I'm not an idiot. That's a silly, weird thing to tell someone to buy. He'd tell me to kick rocks in this fancy horse leather sneaker. While 800 bucks is too much for the best, 100 bucks is too little. So, as we go through this list, I'm going to point out things that I value in leather sneakers, like the leather and the construction stuff, and also the sourcing and yeah, the aesthetics as well, because you know, we're talking about style here. Is that, what? I'm talking too much? Okay, all right, fine. Well, if you're in a rush, I've got an article in the description below. Links to check out the brands are also in the description below. The best leather sneaker, let's get started. Where is it? All right, the best leather sneaker overall. The Koio Capri is my favorite minimalist leather sneaker. That's why it's so worn and beat up, more so than the other ones here. It's minimalist, it goes with absolutely everything, really nice and simple. Each shoe is handmade in Italy by the same people that make Chanel sneakers. Chanel actually bought the factory a few years ago, and they charge $1,000 for their sneakers. And does that mean they're the same materials? Like this is the same as those fancy Chanel ones? I don't know, maybe. No, maybe, I don't know. Chanel doesn't tell you anything about their materials or how their shoes are made. Koio tells you a lot. They're as fanatical about like transparency and sustainability as they are about like just making the shoes themselves. Like it's notable that this chrome tan cow leather is gold and silver certified by the Leather Working Group, which is like an auditing group. They make sure that tanneries are not using unnecessary amounts of energy and water and making sure they don't pollute local waterways, which happens sometimes with cheap leather. Okay, I know I'm losing you with the sustainability stuff. Just the shoe itself, the Capri, it comes in a huge selection of colors. You have wide width options, which is very rare. You have a great selection of leathers. You can get chrome tan, you can get regenerative, vegetable tan if you want, suede. The leather and everything else is from Italy, even the shoebox. They're stitched to the sole, like most of these are, to keep the sole from like tearing away at the toe break, like my Chuck Taylors do every single year. So like the Koios, they really are just as good and as good looking as Common Project sneakers, which is a brand I'm gonna get into in a bit that kind of pioneered this genre of sneaker, but they are over 150 bucks cheaper. They actually just dropped the price, so these are under 250 bucks now. And Common Projects is, those are over 400 bucks. They've got a nice like ergonomic shape as well. Like they don't look any wider, but they actually have more room in the toes and they kind of like, you know, cinch here at the waist a little bit more than some other sneakers. So it doesn't look any wider, but as you can see, compared to some of their competitors, this Koio, it's more foot shape. It doesn't smush the toes like many brands are famous for doing in the skinny genre of sneaker that we're in right now. The best value though, the best value leather minimalist sneakers, it's this one. It's Thursday's premier sneaker. You will not find a better sneaker for under 150 bucks. It's a tiny bit chunkier than Koio or Common Projects, so coupled with that, and also it has eyelets here instead of blind eyelets. It might not scratch the exact same itch as that minimalist sneaker thing, but it also, you know, helps it stand out a little bit more from the others, and also the fit is more forgiving. Many guys, again, they find these sleekers to be too sleek. And so Thursdays is more democratic without being too chunky and 90s, right? I have seen some guys on Reddit though complain about these still being too slim for them. The good news is though, Thursday listened, and since then they've come out with 2 wider widths. So there are 3 widths available for the sneaker, which is like unheard of in this game, except for one other entry on this list I'm gonna get into. But they also do half sizes, which a lot of brands don't do, and they do the widths, and they're really inexpensive, so it's a really solid one too. Also worth noting, when they came out, the white Thursdays were really stiff in the heel, which everyone complained about. And so they've softened that as well. So that in the new batches of these shoes. So that's the cool thing about Thursday is that they iterate a lot. These brown ones are from that generation though, and they're much softer in the heel. So they had like different constructions for different leathers. And because I have enough white sneakers, I've actually worn these brown ones the most, like more than these white ones from Thursday. I'd say I've worn these about as much as my Koios and my Common Projects, but the sole has not worn down as much. So I would also say that they have the benefit of the more durable sole. So plenty of upsides for the Thursday premiere, and they've got a ton of leathers as well, like lots and lots of leathers. But next I want to quickly touch on Idrese for guys looking for custom leather sneakers. Like if there's something in your mind's eye and you just can't find the kind of leather sneaker you want in any of these brands. You can get custom sneakers made to your specs. There's a really cool kind of thing on their site where you can design it yourself, and they get them to you. They get them made and sent to you in under a month, which is like very, very fast for custom shoes. Idrese's sneakers, I mean, they're a little bit pricey, between $250 and $300, but it's easy to argue that it's worth it for the amount of control you get over it. You not only have the option of designing your own sneakers in over a dozen Nappa leathers, Nappa being the soft leather of choice for these kinds of sneakers, but you can also use full grain leather if you want, rough out, pebble grain, and you can do vegan leathers. You can not do leather at all and do like linen, flannel, tartan, tweed, and you can mix and match panels to have a combination of several materials. And you even decide if you want the stitching to contrast, if you want blind eyelets like the Koios, or proper eyelets like the Thursdays. You can decide how thick the sole is gonna be. I had a pair of their Nuno sneakers. I did give them to a friend, but I did find it fascinating how the leather barely creased on those shoes, and they told me that's because they're made so fresh for you and they're not like drying out on a shelf somewhere for months on end. And also, the last time I talked to Idrese, like a year ago, the code Stridewise gives you $15 off at checkout, if that still works. That's a Chipotle bowl on me. All right, now the best fitting leather sneaker though, I mean, Thursdays is really good, but Adelante's Idrese, if your foot is atypical, this is the best brand for you. And to be sure, most guys don't need to think too much about fit, but if you have trouble, Adelante has a huge range of sizes up to 17, and they have 7 widths to choose from, like a narrow C all the way up to quintuple E. So they're best for customizing fit. They'll even give you 2 different sizes if that's what your feet are, and like no one else does that. The Idrese is custom made for you, but they're fast as well. Your sneakers typically come in under a month. And what's really unusual is their Blake stitched sneakers. So that's the type of construction that a lot of dress shoes are made with, where the upper is stitched. In these shoes anyway, the sneakers, the upper is stitched into a soling leather and then an EVA composite sole glued to the bottom of that. So it's not quite as easy to resole as a normal Blake stitch dress shoe, but it's definitely the easiest to resole on this list. So, you know, totally custom to your foot. And also there's an argument that they might last longer given the ease of resoling. And Adelante also have like a really cool kind of humanitarian mission. I visited their workshop in Guatemala and I learned all about how like they pay local shoemakers more than twice the local wage. They're in this town Pastores, which is known for its shoemakers. It gives them formal employment and insurance, which like 99% of people in that town don't have. Yeah, anyway, that mission combined with that customizability, that makes Adelante and the Idrese sneaker like a pretty special option. If you want something a bit chunkier though, it's hard to talk about leather sneakers without touching on greats. This is the Royale 2.0 and it's another very good option for under $200. And it's a good bet if you want something that is, it's not really chunky, but it's a little bit closer to your childhood skate sneakers if you don't want something too narrow and like low slung. And also a bonus of like the slightly more voluminous look is that it's easier to wear with like loose pants or shorts or very casually if that's your jam. Now, they aren't quite as minimalist as other picks on this list. Like they've got 3 panels of leather here on the side, like these 2 seams break it up. And there's also like ventilation holes here, which adds like some detail. Some people want it just totally featureless. And I don't really think that the holes make it breathe that much better, especially because it's already leather lined. But to their credit, I think these are the lightest sneakers on this list. I mean, Thursday's white sneaker weighs less than this, but the brown one weighs a little bit more. So if you average them, Great is like the lightest, I guess. Great is pricier than Thursday, $189. It has fewer colorways in them and a lot of the other brands here as well. And Great is not as transparent as Koio or some of the other brands like Adelante when it comes to materials, tracing, sustainability practices, all that kind of stuff. Like it's the 2020s, like people want to know how their stuff is made. Great, they're not super forthcoming with that stuff. We gotta talk about common projects, right? Probably the best known and probably the most controversial sneaker in the minimalist sneaker game. These guys have set the standard for minimalist white sneakers for the last 2 decades. Why isn't Common Projects at the very top of this list? Number one is $400. Oftentimes it's more, and yeah, sometimes they're on sale, but I've never seen it for less than Koio's, even when on sale. Number two, it really looks the same as Koio, like let's be real. And number three, the fit is more narrow and less forgiving than Koio, and they don't do wide widths. And number four, another reason I didn't put them at the top, following on from what I was saying earlier about Greats, Common Projects don't tell you anything about how it's made or what it's made from. Like Mystique is like the whole marketing strategy. We know they're made in Italy. Otherwise, that is about it. Their site has nothing on it. Mr. Porter goes further and says that the shoe is 80% leather, 20% other materials. Cool. Like, no, you cost $400. Get out of here. Tell me how you made. I know. I'm not saying they're bad sneakers, but they are overpriced. Get Koio instead if you're really into that Common Projects look. I also want to talk about Beckett Simonon Reid. It is often brought up in these sorts of conversations. This one is blue suede because I obviously have enough white sneakers. Beckett Simonon is based in Bogota, Colombia. Plus they're made to order as well. That keeps the price pretty low, and I've got this discount code for these guys as well that gets them down to 135 bucks. But you have to wait like 2 months for them to get made for you. And like if your big thing is saving money, Thursday is still cheaper than this, and you don't have to wait that long. But there's an argument that it's more eco-friendly when things are made for you, so that's kind of nice. And they do have like a lot of good leather options. Like this is a water-resistant calf skin suede. And Beckett Simonon, they got a lot of points for transparency as well. They show and tell you about the place that makes them, which I really like. They have all this information about worker treatment and the rights they have on their website. They ensure the tannery is Leather Working Group Gold rated. The tannery is in Arzignano, Italy. And these are all great points. As you've seen, rare even among the big names. And I've said this on a video about Beckett Simonon's boots. The leather, while LWG rated, is not amazing at Beckett Simonon, but for sneakers, it's good, it's good enough. And they also give you a good range of types of leather. So you can get them in full grain leather, suede, pebbled leather, nubuck, like what Timberland boots are made from, and pull-up leather as well, which is basically boot leather. And they don't do wide widths, but they do get accolades for their fit because they have a tall instep and a wide waist. And while that's not as good as offering different widths for different feet, they're more accommodating fit-wise than common projects, particularly as Beckett Simonon do some half sizes. Also, I've got to talk about Crown Northampton, the best luxury leather sneaker. Many people waiting for this one. The most expensive leather sneakers that I own. It's true that Chanel's are more expensive, but these are definitely better made. Crown Northampton's goal of making the most premium sneakers on earth is backed up not by a brand name, you might not have heard of them, but by actual craftsmanship. Is this level of craftsmanship and quality materials necessary for the average person? Like I said, like no. But if you do want a really high quality shoe, you can justify it when you know how these are made. I went to the factory, check it out in the description below to see like how these particular shoes are made. These ones, which is like their most expensive one, they're handmade in England's shoemaking capital of Northampton. The brand use some of the most expensive leathers out there. This is Horween's Shell Cordovan from Chicago. They have like white box calf, they got bison leather, they got deer suede. These are leathers only used on the most premium and expensive dress shoes and boots. And I also visited those tanneries as well, and those in the description below if you want to learn more. But Crown has like the most high-end materials as well, like oak bark tanned leather in the construction. They got cork filling underfoot as though it's a boot that helps with moisture management and comfort that improves with time. Do you have to spend $700-800 bucks on a pair of sneakers from them? No, this is just their most expensive leather. The cheapest one I found, which is made the same otherwise on the website, is box calf, which is the go-to leather for dressy Oxford shoes and stuff. And that one is just 328 bucks, which is cheaper than common projects and a billion trillion times better. You will have to wait a good 3 or 4 months for them to be made for you though, but still, that's what we're talking about. And then lastly, because when people talk about common project alternatives, they always talk about Oliver Cabell, and because I have them here, I do want to talk about them. So this is Oliver Cabell's Low 1. Aesthetics-wise, while other shoes here, some of them have their own twists, this and Koio and common projects are all going for the precise same look and market. And the Low 1 is cheaper than Koio sometimes. They're sometimes 199 bucks, sometimes at 266 bucks, but more often than not, this is the cheapest common project alternative that is good enough to be spoken about in the same conversation. Like they're made in the same region of Italy as Koio in La Marca. The downsides are they don't do half sizes or wide widths. To be fair, now the Koio or common projects do half sizes, but they don't do the wide widths like Koio does, which really gives them an edge in this game. They have 2 extra sets of eyelets than Koio and common projects, if that bugs you, But more importantly though, honestly, this brand has a reputation for being, the sneakers are often squeaky, and also the customer service has a reputation for not caring and overall being very hard to work with. So I wanted to mention Oliver Cabell because they are Italian made, they're really similar, and they are pretty inexpensive. The fit is not as great. I think it's better than common projects in that like it's a bit wider in the toe box. It's a pretty common thing you hear about guys that they squeak when you first get them. The squeakiness will probably go away with wear, squeaky shoes almost always do, but their customer service has just like a really bad reputation. So I didn't want to put it at the top of the list, but like they're good. Koio I think fits better, they got more wide widths, they're more sustainable, they're more comfortable in my opinion. But I'm also aware that in this conversation about shoes that look like this, and they're all made in Italy, you can say that you're just kind of splitting hairs and you should just go with the cheaper one. That's my list of the best leather sneakers. Wow, I've been wearing a lot of these for many, many years. I'm about to take these Cordovan fancy ones all over Vietnam and Thailand to just destroy them and see just how tough the world's fanciest sneaker is. So keep an eye out for that eventual review. And on that note, subscribe for more videos in the future on nice leather sneakers and just casual stuff that lasts a long time. That's what we talk about here. And hopefully I'll catch you for the next one.